Hi, my name is Courtney, and I'm a health and wellness coach, and I'm so excited to be here sharing a conversation with Pearl.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another conversation with Pearl. This is Pearl Chiarenza with Women's Successful Living, where I empower women to step into the power of the word no to others and yes to themselves as excitedly as they do say that word yes. And today we're having a conversation about health and wellness and self-care as normal. And our special guest is Courtney Pouzieux. And I had met Courtney a couple of years ago. We've been in a few different events together, and we're both in a different cities. So it's really cool, and states. But I want to introduce you to Courtney. She has been a health and nutrition coach for nearly 5 years. She is the owner of Bespoke Nutrition and Health Coaching. She is nationally board certified health and wellness coach. She also has a background in functional nutrition related to diet and lifestyle. She empowers women to prioritize their health and well-being while fully embracing and enjoying life. And that's what this show is all about, is how do we fully embrace and enjoy our life. So I'm so excited to have you, Courtney. Welcome to the show finally.
Thank you, Pearl. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So I always like to start with a little bit about why, like where you're from and why you're doing what you're doing today. So share with the listeners a little bit about, a little bit about Courtney and what led you to what you're doing today.
Well, that is a really long story, Pearl. So I'll try to give a very brief version. Um, I I was basically having some health issues about, oh gosh, it's been forever, like when I was 30. So what, that would have been 18 years ago, 19 years ago. And it took me a really long time to figure out what was going on. Like a lot of your listeners, I was working a job where I was just drained emotionally, physically. I didn't have a great support system. So after that incident, I ended up just kind of going on a journey like, what's happening with my life? Why is this happening to me? And that's a really interesting sentence because life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. That's a quote from the late Dr. Sean Stevenson. And so I had the opportunity, we were living abroad, and I had the opportunity to actually study functional nutrition from a diet and lifestyle perspective. And I'd already dabbled a little bit in health and nutrition, and it was really life-changing for me. So that happened about 10 years ago. And once I got my diploma, I knew that this was what I was meant to do. I was meant to be a health coach and help as many women as possible not to give up hope, empower them that you can balance living life, enjoying it, and getting unstuck, and really being healthy and well, having a sense of well-being. There is just nothing better. Absolutely nothing better than being at peace and knowing that you're living a healthy life and living life to the fullest and feeling good. Because for years, I was not feeling good.
I'm like, so just so everybody who's watching everything, I'm listening. I also take notes. So if you're listening to us, I'm always taking notes because there's always such good nuggets, and I never want to miss the nuggets that my guests share. And like, I love what you talk about, a support system, right? Because we as women, we think we have to do everything ourselves. That's a lot of what I love to coach on, is to know that you can empower, whether you're a professional woman and you've got a team that's working with you, you can empower your team to do some of the things that you think you have to do all the time yourself. Let them be that support system so that they can empower you to be like, you don't have to work these crazy hours and be stressed out and not feel like you have a life, but also having the support system at home. And, that communicating to that support system, right? We have a support system, but we also have to remember that we have to communicate to them, right? We have to make sure that, especially like if you're that, I don't like the working mom or stay at home mom title. I like to call you're a CEO mom, whether you're a CEO professional mom or a CEO mom, running a house is a business, right? And so I love that, to remind the women that we don't have to do everything ourselves. And we do have to communicate to those that are around us, whether it's our professional career or even our at-home family that's with us, our spouse, a significant other, our kids. empower them to know that, this is a household, this is a team, right? There's no I in team. So you don't have to do it all, so that you don't feel like you're getting stressed out over a grilled cheese sandwich, like I like to say sometimes. And so having the support system and communicating to that support system, hey, this is where I need your help at, is so, so important. Would you agree with that, Courtney?
Absolutely. And my biggest thing is when you ask for help, you're allowing someone else to feel good about themselves and help you. And that is so important. And I know a lot of women out there, we don't like to ask for help. We don't want to look incompetent, but try to reframe it that when you ask for help, you're allowing somebody else to feel good and help you.
And I think that also ties back to what you said about life happens for you. When we ask for help, life can happen for us the way we need it to. When we don't ask for help, that's when you're not sleeping at night. That's when you're stressed out. That's when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do anything I want to do for myself. When you can ask for help, like there's nothing wrong in asking for help. I mean, my gosh, when we lost our son 18 months ago, I created this Shiro League community during COVID when I saw this need for women who were like trying to balance working at home while they're trying to become a teacher that they never wanted to be a teacher for their kids. And then also going, oh my God, my spouse or significant others with me all day long. I don't know that I like them here all day long, right? I just saw this like Calgon, take me away, please do something, right? And so I created the Shiro League because I wanted women to have that support and not feel like there's nobody out there with them, because we were all going through it in some way or another. And so having that Shiro League created that community. I never knew in creating that community that someday I was going to rely on that community. And literally, it was calling somebody in the community who lived here locally and just saying, Jacqueline, this is what's happened. And literally, they enveloped me. And it's nothing wrong to ask for help. I mean, the first thing I said was, hey, can you call Liz, who has this amazing nonprofit here? And I knew she had contacts. I wasn't looking to get help from the nonprofit. I was just like going, I know she knows somebody that could get here right away, because I had 4 French kids in my house and I knew I had to clean up right away because there was going to be people coming into my home, right? So asking for help, there's nothing wrong in that. If you're listening to us, I want you to write that down. There's a lot of power in asking for help. And because it does help your life happen for you the way we need it to happen, the way we can reduce stress, the way we can feel happy in our lives. It's so, so important. And I love what you said too. I wrote down, don't give up hope. Oftentimes we're going through life, whether it's your health that you're trying to do better, whether it's a new job or you're looking for a job, or maybe it's even your relationship. You feel like it's just things aren't going right. You're not sure where you want to go. I mean, don't give up hope. And it also goes back to ask for help. Like maybe there's some things that you can do by asking for help, whether it's going to Courtney for help with the health and wellness piece of it, or finding a coach that can help you with the mental fitness side of it, which is what I love to do. There's a great synergy in asking for that help. And I love what you said about, and it helps to not give up hope, because if you're listening and you're watching, we're not alone. But sometimes we feel that way, right, Courtney? Sometimes we feel like, oh, nobody understands. Nobody's gone through this. And trust me, we've all gone through something. It may not be the same thing, but we've all gone through something. And I know for me on my grief journey, I was with Courtney the first September after we lost Matthew. And when I look back at that month and going to, I was very honored to have a name named after a city of Syracuse named after me for a day. I remember looking back now going, I was just kind of going through the motions. It was like I was here going through the motions, showing up like I know I want to show up, but I wasn't fully into that moment. Now, as I come through my journey, because I did ask for help, I reached out to people that are coaches in that field of grief. I feel like now it's like, okay, the acceptance piece is coming along. Now I feel like I'm starting to step out and showing up for myself. And it's okay to ask for that help. And it doesn't mean that you're not successful. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. But I love that you shared that. So tell us a little bit, Courtney, like, we're in January, right? So we're recording this. Everybody who's listening, you might not hear this for a couple months, but we're in January. This is the month everybody creates, oh, I'm going to go on and have my, my resolution of I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to do great,
Yes.
and so we're at the end of January, we're recording this, right? So you're probably listening going, I didn't do that. I didn't do this, Courtney, walk through, remind our listeners why they shouldn't beat themselves up about that.
It is a process. I think you outlined a lot of things when you were talking about even your grief journey. It's a process. And honestly, I think signing up for the gym and saying, okay, I'm going to go all month. I'm going to go 5 times a week. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to do this. Oh my God. That that just gives me like the cold sweats thinking, because I don't wake up at 5 a.m. and go 5 times a week. I I, I've created something for like a free gift for your listeners, and I'll talk about that. But honestly, go easy on yourself. Like everything is a process. Yes, you want to get healthy, but it's always about the why. Why are you wanting to get healthy? What what is going to the gym 5 days a week? What is that going to do for you? And also, is it sustainable? Like, I can't go to the gym 5 days a week. I don't have the time. And I love the gym, don't get me wrong. I used to hate it, but I love it now. But like, really? Is that what you want to do? So maybe reassess your goals and say, okay, it didn't happen, but it can. And this is how I'm going to do it. So take baby steps.
And I love that because you're right. I mean, sometimes, especially if you're somebody like me who the gym is a 4-letter word for me. Sorry. I like to do walks, but if but you know what the thing is that when I am all into with it, like I had a great trainer that was working with, and
Yep.
she's taken a different path. When I was all in, I was like, she would push me. And I was like, yes, I got this. No problem. She'd bring me the T-Rex, whatever the things are. And I would do it. I was like, okay, if I'm here doing it, I'm going to do it. But like to just go, and then to say, go from 0 to say, I'm going to do 5 days a week. You're setting yourself up for an unrealistic goal. So like you were saying, just allow yourself 1 day a week. If you have to start small, like what you're saying, start small and say, I'm going to go 1 day a week, and maybe I'm going to go for a walk the other day a week, right? Just something small. The really cool thing is we have a clubhouse here in my neighborhood, and we
Oh,
have a
nice.
gym. We have a gym in there. So sometimes I ride my bike up to the clubhouse, and the really neat thing is, in front of my neighborhood, we're like a walking community. So we
Mhm.
have all these restaurants and things. So when I meet somebody like to do a meeting 1-to-1, I'm like, can we meet here? And I just ride my bike up there. So I figured
Yeah.
that's my way of getting my exercise in, right? I'm still kind of in a dress or whatever, but I'm still getting some exercise in, right? So it's like you said, like starting small. That's really powerful.
And it has to be something fun that you enjoy to do. I had a client recently that she's like, no, she knew she had to make some changes. And, she was really, and I'm saying this, there's no judgment with this, but she was thinking inside the box. I have to go to the gym. I have to go work out. That's what my husband does. That's what you do. Well, her thing was dancing. Oh my gosh. So every time we'd meet up, we would do some dancing, Michael Jackson. I mean, she wanted it, didn't matter. And then suddenly she's going to Zumba, she's going to a rebounder class. It has to be fun and sustainable. And I haven't worked with her a few months, but it is freezing out there. She's going to her Zumba class. So do what makes you love and enjoy life.
I love that. Do you? It's so true. And I love you talk about a box. I love to talk to my clients about the box. I'm like, when they come to me, they're like, maybe they've worked with a coach before. And I'm like, well, what's so different? Like, why me? They're like, because you don't say that, you have to do it. And you're honest. Like I watch you, Pearl, online. I just had a friend reach out to me today, and they're like, you're so inspiring. Like you're just realistic. You'll let us know when you fail. You let us know when you succeed. Like you don't hide behind, oh, I got to show the pretty picture of everything successful, right? And I'm like, well, because failing forward is what I call it, or bouncing forward is what I love to call it. But I tell them, I go, just give me a box, picture a box and give me one toe. All I want is one of your toes that I can stretch outside that box. If you just give me a toe, by the end of week 2, I'm going to have that first foot completely out and stretching that comfort zone that you have. Because like you said, the example of, I'm a dancer. I love to dance. I love to, go out and dancing. That's totally my jam. My son's actually getting married. My youngest son's getting married in October this year. And I was just thinking today, I was coming back from my yearly checkup with my doctor, and I was like, okay, we're going to have to do some mother-daughter dance exercises together, because I've never seen him dance, but I know him. And Nate, if you're listening, I love you anyways. He'll probably say, we don't need to go to a dance lesson, Mom. But it's kind of, for me, I'm like I'm just going to go do it because it'd be kind of fun. I probably will bring my husband along instead. But again, it's outside the box thinking. Like we don't have to do, like you gave the example, just because somebody we know does exercise a certain way doesn't mean we have to duplicate that. We don't have to replicate it. We can do what brings you fun and what brings you joy. And that sort of leads me to what are some of the things that when you work with your clients, I love that example about, helping them think outside the box. What are some of the things that you feel are staples that your clients like that these are some must-dos for their self-care and for their health journey?
Wow. Okay. So when you say must do, are you thinking, because everything that I do is whatever works for the client. I have a 90-day transformation program. And, we talk about things like hydration, chewing, honoring hunger, honoring or fullness, excuse me, wholeness. But honestly, there's no set curriculum or no set rules that I have for anyone because I try to meet people where they are. So it really depends. Like I really need to get to know people, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. I have clients that have done intermittent fasting for a long time and maybe it's not working for them. And I'm never going to tell someone don't do that. Sometimes we just clean things up. I come from kind of a place of understanding that maybe that low fat diet isn't working for you because our body needs fat. So let's incorporate some olive oil. Let's incorporate maybe some nuts or some avocado. Make sure that we have enough fiber. Also, it depends on life stage. Pearl, you know this. I mean, we are no longer in our 20s. What worked when we were 20 is not going to work for when we're in our 50s. So I also always like to look at where is a woman in her life stage and what's happening in her past. Also, how is her gut microbiome? We're learning so much that the health of our gut and what we can do with the healthy foods that we're eating, that's going to mean more than what you're eating. For example, you could eat one meal, I could eat one meal, someone else could eat the same meal, but we're going to metabolize it different. We're going to use it differently. There is no one size fits all. So besides, making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure you're hydrating. And I don't even like to say exercise. I like to say movement. And movement could be rollerblading, taking a walk, stretching, anything that you enjoy and are going to be doing a couple times a week. That's what I like to focus on. Did that answer your question?
You answered exactly how I knew. That's why I asked that question because I wanted the listeners to understand there is no out of the box, this is how you should do it, right? Because like you just said, it depends on you and where you're at. Like you said, I mean, I'm going to be 60 years old this year. It's totally different than when I was in my 20s. I went to the doctor's today. He's like, do you realize you've been at the same weight since 2016? He's like, that's really good, Pearl. I'm like, yeah, but I don't like the number. He goes, I get you don't like the number. He goes, but just understand, reward yourself. That's really good. Like you have maintained that for almost 10 years. He's like, that's something to reward yourself for. I'm like, okay. So, we talk about some things I can do differently, which he actually talked about, maybe try intermittent fasting. I've never done it in my life. And I kind of eat like that way. He goes, if you kind of are doing it, just tweak it a little bit more, and some other stuff. And I love that. Definitely hydration, good sleep, is so, so important. Do you have a routine yourself, Courtney, that you do to prepare yourself to go to bed? Because I know for women, we can struggle getting a good night's sleep. There's so much on our mind. We're thinking about, oh my gosh, I forgot to send that email out, especially if you're a business person, or, I forgot to make Johnny, his lunch or send that email to the PTA. So is there a routine that you set yourself up to get yourself ready for a good night's sleep? And how much, I mean, everybody listen. Everybody's good night's sleep hours are different. And we hear things about, you should get 7 hours, you should get 8 hours. It depends on you. Again, our bodies are different. But I would love to know, what's your routine for preparing for bed?
So this is something that I advocate not only for myself, but for my 16-year-old daughter. It is an hour before I'm going to go to bed. I turn off electronics. I can read a book. I can stretch. I might, nothing strenuous, but basically no blue light, no electronics. And I might do a meditation. That's all right. But I get ready for bed, like I'll go around the house, I kind of clean up because that relaxes me. That makes me feel safe and secure. But I think just not scrolling on my phone in bed. I have a beautiful ritual of brushing my teeth and washing my face. I like to anything that like I'm that needs my attention so that I'm not like at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, oh no, I forgot to send out that email, yes, to the parent association. Or I'm having this difficulty with this friend. That's something that I do well before, like at 9:30, if I'm going to go to bed at 10:30. I just allow myself my mind to wander a little bit. And then when I hit the pillow, I just give myself time, love, grace, and I tell myself it's okay. It's okay not to fall asleep immediately. Usually it takes you sometimes 20 minutes, and I never try to stress it. I don't know if your listeners can do that because it's taken me years to get that, but sleep is really, really important for me for my not only my physical health, but my mental health.
No, I love that routine. I think the whole no blue life electronics off. I love that. I was just with a friend of mine in December, Lisa Pulliam. She's listening. Hello, Lisa. Her and I shared a bed together at a retreat we went to for my business coach. And when we were there, she had her phone across the room, right? And I was like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I put my phone now across the room. I don't want any worse in my bed." And I'm like, really? Does that work? Like, do you get up? She goes, well, I hear it. And then when I hear it, it makes me get up out of bed to go get the alarm. I'm like, oh, I have to try that. I haven't tried it yet, but I have to try that. I come to bed and I typically will like put my phone because it's my alarm. I'll put it near my away from my pillow a little bit just because it's my alarm, but I don't really scroll with it. But I love that you say like that hour before bedtime, like turning off the blue lights, electronics, and things like that. My husband is very bad about staying on the couch or on his recliner and falling asleep and then coming into bed. And, then I'm like, I wake up, I'm like, oh. So recently I started going, we got this new couch. It's almost like a mattress when you lay on it. So I was like, okay, I need to like change this up. So I'm going to go to sleep on this couch and I'm not going to go to bed. So I wanted to like make a point to him. And I was like, you come to bed at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when you wake up, and then you wake me up, and I can't get back to sleep sometimes, right? And it just gets me so frustrated. So now I'll fall asleep on the couch. So lately he's going, are you ever coming to bed again? And I'm like, oh, do you understand? So now we kind of have this happy medium. It's like, okay, around 11 o'clock at night, we're both going to bed, because I'm like, you can't wake me up and I can't go to sleep if you come in the middle of the night. So, communicate again, back to that communicating realistic expectations about, even getting some good sleep. But I love you talk about meditation. Some of my clients, they struggle sleeping, like in the middle of the night, waking up because things are on their mind. So I have them actually put a book next to their bed, a notebook with a pen. I'm like, when you wake up and those thoughts are on your head, just sort of write them down, like just kind of dump them off your head and then try to go back to sleep, right? I have a friend of mine who does amazing meditations up. She's from Canada. She taught me the Om, doing the Om. So like if I wake up, I just do Om. And sometimes I wake my husband up. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, shh, I got to go back to sleep. Leave me alone, But creating that routine is so important for our self-care. And like you said, even for our mental fitness, because we've got to let our minds settle down and such. So we've talked about nighttime. How many hours of sleep do you think you get a night, Courtney?
Ooh, I love to sleep. I think I probably get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. One thing, that I was talking with some friends the other day, and we were talking about our husbands who snore, and it's not like my husband snores or anything, but I know that if like there are nighttime sounds, like I live in the city, sometimes there will be, people talking. Maybe there might be a siren. Maybe my husband might snore. Not that he would snore, but I always tell myself, the world is going on without me. I can sleep. Or if I hear like someone snoring, I always think they're sleeping. I should be sleeping. And that just self corrects myself from getting angry. Like, oh, you woke me up because you're snoring like a freight train. No. He is sleeping soundly. I should be sleeping soundly too. I don't know if that's helpful, but I know that some of my friends were saying like, "Oh my God, that really helped." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy," because it's
No,
weird.
it's like a great affirmation. It's like telling yourself, you can go manifesting that you can go to sleep. You can go back to sleep. The world is going on without you. We moved into our house we're at now about 3 years ago. And where we lived before, it was a round circle neighborhood. We didn't have traffic going through the neighborhood. So every very blue moon, you might hear a car drive through the neighborhood. But here where we're at now, we've got like sort of a main road that goes by, and every so often a car will zoom by and we'll hear that. And I'm like, oh, and then, but now I've gotten used to the noise, kind of same thing going, oh, that's just a car driving by, and kind of getting used to that. So let's talk about like what you do with your clients. So I did nighttime because I want to kind of get into the daytime routine about the health and wellness part of what you do. Like help walk us through like what are some routines and how do you coach your clients through the day when it comes time around choosing healthy habits, around eating, around what we're putting in our body?
Yeah. So I I try to lead by example, and I do meet wherever somebody is. I know that my own routine, I go to the gym at least twice a week, and those are sacred times. I go on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I will not miss that appointment at the gym with myself, not with a trainer, just with myself. Um, I mean, there would have to be a fire or a death. And I think I learned that being just like a young mother and never making time for myself. So if that's where your listeners are, just know that you can do it. It might take a little while. It's not going to happen when your baby's 6 months old, or maybe it's really easy to go to the gym. The first thing I do when I wake up is I drink a big glass of water. Hydration is so important. And I'm somebody, I drink a lot of water. And I start my day that way. I like to have breakfast within 30 minutes of waking up. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but for me, it gets my metabolism going. Then I can have a good day. I don't intermittent fast all the time, but I will not eat until noon or 1 o'clock. And that's a really long time, but that's also giving my body enough time to clean up and burn off any sugar and start tapping into fat reserves. Um, in the morning, I always have like a green shake with lots of vegetables. I put a little bit of collagen in there and some whey powder or pea protein with flaxseed. Flaxseed's really important for women. It estrogen binds onto that flaxseed and is eliminated and not recycled. For lunch, I love to have a big salad and then also like some lean protein. I'm really into steaming food. I think steaming or a little bit raw, it's steaming and cooking are a form of processing food. And it's not all processed food is bad. It's the ultra processed foods that's really bad. So I will have like some steamed fish, some steamed chicken. I can like lightly grill. I like to have olive oil. I pile on the vegetables. I'm trying to think. I love leafy greens like Swiss chard, kale, Brussels sprouts, all the things that people don't like. I don't know why. I really, really like that. And I find that they're really cleansing. Right around 2 or 3 o'clock, I will have a cup of jasmine green tea. For me, it's that green floral scent. It's just awakening. And it's something that I didn't really like, but I had a friend who used to do this, and she kind of turned me on that, like, when you're eating and drinking beautiful things, you are beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I don't know if it works, but so that's something that I do. And then in the afternoon, I like to have some form of protein, calcium, sometimes like cottage cheese or just yogurt. I know a lot of people don't like the texture of cottage cheese. I don't know why. It doesn't bother me, with a little bit of cinnamon, or if you need just a little bit of honey. And yeah. Sorry, I was going to go into how important, because I do lift weights. It's really important that you're getting enough calcium. You can get calcium through like vegetables. You can get calcium through cheese and milk. It's more bioavailable. But if you're having a vegetarian diet, dairy is really good. And you don't actually need milk or dairy to have enough calcium in your diet. But I like to eat a lot of variety. And then dinner is always with my family. And I like to have like a soup, especially in these cold months. It's a great way to get enough vegetables. Sorry, and trying to think of something. When my daughter was a little baby, I used to feed her this soup of onions, carrots, and a little bit of celery and zucchini. And those were some of her first foods. My daughter was actually born in France. And so the way that they introduce foods is very different from the American diet. But this is something that a base for a soup that I make all the time, and she eats it as if it's the best thing in the world, which is really odd and strange. But I feel so privileged that we were living in France at the time and she was born there, and that they really encouraged me to follow this routine. And then, so I eat around 5:30, 6:30, depends on kind of when my daughter is hungry. I do try to do a lot of socialization, ask her how her day is. You know, she's kind of a 16-year-old, doesn't want to tell mom everything. And again, like I do try to incorporate a little bit of meditation, breathing. Breathing's really good for you, especially if you want to lose weight. Every time you exhale, you're releasing not only calories, but you're detoxifying your body. So even building in 3 minutes of controlled breathing and deep breathing is really, really healthy for you.
That's such a great routine. I love that routine. And it's, it's totally doable. It's learnable, right? We're not going to, if you're listening, you're not going to copy Courtney right away of
No.
how she's doing it. It's going to be a learning process as everything is. But like she said, I mean, the main thing is like getting enough protein, making sure you have your fiber is so, so important, especially as we do age gracefully. We want to make sure that we have that in our bodies. And I love what you talk about, like your eating process. I love the green drinks too, and I love doing collagen in my green drink as well. It's so it's really, everybody's going, oh, a green drink, but actually it's really good. You think it's kind of yucky. I actually have a friend, and I've tried it, but I'm like, that part I don't like. I'm a big chocolate person, and I love chocolate protein over any other flavor protein. And she's like, well, Pearl, just put your chocolate protein powder in with your green tea. I'm going, I tried it one time. Like, no, 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 I can't do that. It doesn't. But she loves it, right? So the point is, it's, if you're listening, it's what works for you. Just as
Mhm.
long as you're getting in the healthy choices, it's what works for you. I love too that you talk about having dinner with your daughter. It's so important if you do have kids to start, create that environment. I remember the hardest thing with my older son, he played football, was trying to have dinner as a family. In fact, we had an exchange student one time came, and that was her big complaint was, you don't really get to eat as a family. I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, that's the nature of the game because he does play football, and it would come home so late. It would be too late for the rest of us to eat. So we created this dine-in drive-through. It was so much fun. So I would crock pot things like pulled chicken and rice, things that I knew that everybody would eat. And I love the soup base that you talk about. Wish I knew about that back then. So we would crock pot it. I'd put in a crock pot, and it was just like, okay, just instead of hitting the drive-through for the McDonald's or whatever, they knew they'd come home. There was some sort of protein in the crock pot with some sort of vegetables in there for them. And they would just drive on through the kitchen and get their food, and then off to practice they would go. Sometimes we'd be in the same room, sometimes we weren't, but I knew that they were eating some healthy choices, right? Now, when it was football day, they did get 5 or 6 hamburgers from McDonald's because these are boys who want that stuff, but okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, for the rest of us in the family that wanted to have that healthy choice, it's what worked, because oftentimes I hear people say, I got to make this meal for them and I got to make that meal for them, right? And so if you can find the happy medium and create that happy medium, that's what we did. It really worked for our family. And I like the green tea in the afternoon. I'm going to try that. I haven't tried that, but one of the things that I love to do in the afternoon, just for like that self-care. I mean, those of you listening, how many of you go reach for the cup of coffee in the afternoon because you get that low, or you go get the pack of M&Ms because you need that, like something to spike you up, right? I found as I went through my journey of losing my 60 pounds that 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when I hit that thing of, because I don't drink coffee, but I hit that thing of, I need something. And I had given up, Courtney. I used to, before I went on my health journey, I used to drink not 1, but 2 liters of Diet Coke a day.
Yeah.
Horrible, right? I didn't do coffee. That was my coffee. So when I gave that up at that 3 in the afternoon, I'm like, oh, I need something. And I learned from my friend in Canada how to do the breathing exercises. So at 3 in the afternoon, I'll sit here and I'll do some breathing exercises. and I'll just take that 15-minute kind of break for myself. And I find, oh my gosh, like by the end of the day, it makes the rest of the day go so smoothly. And I have almost as much energy as when I first wake up in the morning. I just find that routine for me works really, really well. So let me ask you this. So when you're working with your clients and they struggle, so I'm going to ask you this question. So I remember when I went and was just a health and wellness coach, and I worked in a brick and mortar place with somebody who had a program. I'm not going to name the program, but the program is, it was a protein based program and very strict, no fat, no fruits, no carbs. But when the clients would come in, one of the things that they would struggle with was that they would have what she would consider to be a cheat day, right? You cheated on something and you had a deviation, right? Always took the approach, and this is what led me to become the life coach that I am today. I always took the approach about, let's talk about the decision you made. Let's talk about the emotion behind the decision, right? Yes, the plan says you should eat exactly like this, but nobody can be perfect every day of their lives. Things are going to come up. Something's going to happen, And sometimes if you're an emotional eater, you're going to go eat something that maybe isn't the right choice, right? So why beat yourself up? When you come into me, you've already had that talk, that negative talk in your head about, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's going to cost me, yada, yada, yada. And I remember when I was doing the program, and this is why I decided to really take the approach of, let's talk about the emotion behind the choice, right? Because I don't want you to beat yourself up. I want you to be prepared so if that emotion happens again, what are some things you can do? Journal, call a friend, go for a walk, whatever that is. So I remember when I was on the journey, myself and my friends were doing this program. And my husband didn't know I was doing the program. So he didn't know I was spending the money for this program, right? So in my head, I'm like, I'm doing 100% correct, because if I'm paying for something, I want to do it right. And all my friends, they would cheat, deviate, whatever, right? So this one day, we had these two left-hand lanes you could turn to go towards the office where I had to go to. I always took the far left-hand lane because I didn't want to be tempted by the Dunkin' Donuts that I used to go to all the time if I was having a bad day.
Oh.
So I made that choice, right? So this one day I was just struggling. And, I had the angel on one shoulder going, you got this. And the devil's going, come on, one bite, one donut's not going to hurt you. Right. And I'd called my friend and she was like, you got this, and I'm like, okay, she thought she had me off the ledge. I went in the right-hand lane and I turned in, I went to that Dunkin' Donuts. I sat down next to her and I said, it didn't work. The devil won. I had the donut and I had the Diet Coke. And she looked at me and she said, so you just lost 3 days off of the plan. You just spiked your sugar up and you just took yourself out of the, fat burning phase that we were supposedly in. And she says, so how does it feel to take all that food that you spent, that money, and just throw it in the trash? I was like going, oh my
Tough
gosh.
love.
Yeah, right. I was like, if you had said that to me on the phone, it might have worked, right? But the funny thing is that that's where I learned, because when I sat in the room with this coach that we were working with, who we end up, started seeing clients on her behalf at her office, she was like my mother. Like I just got caught skipping school. Right. And like, da, 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 why'd you do this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like going, I don't need you to talk to me that way. I'm already feeling bad because my friend out there just told me what I wasted $100 or something, on that donut. Right. And at that point I was like, I never want to be coached like that. And this is never what I want to do. I want to have somebody walk me through, what happened, Pearl? Why did you pull into that Dunkin' Donut, right? And have that conversation. So how do you coach your clients through when they're having those days, Courtney, and they feel like, they're not successful, and how do you help them see the upside to that challenge that they're facing?
Yeah, that was tough love. Ooh. And I'm not so good about that. I guess I could be, it depends upon the client. I always say, let's forget the judgment and replace it with curiosity. What was going on that day that you really needed that donut and that Diet Coke? And you're going to tell me whatever happening, like, Courtney, I just had to have it. Sometimes I'll go into like kind of a nutrition, like, are you getting enough protein? Because let me tell you, when you start craving, you're not getting enough protein. You're lacking something. But every time we slip up, we make a mistake, we do something that we really didn't want to. What is that action teaching us? What is it teaching us about ourselves? What are we needing to tap into or what seems to be missing. Pearl, I try to make this all really, really fun. And we don't know each other that well, but if you want a partner in crime, I'm your girl. Okay. My clients and I, we have fun. We laugh. I'm always challenging them. Like, it seems like you needed like a little bit of nourishment or even some playtime. And we go through like a list of things that I do because there's times that I'm like, ooh, I really want, an ice cream cone, like a double ice cream cone. And then I'm thinking, no, I think you need to go break some rules. I mean, gentle rules. We're not talking like, any of the 10 commandments, but just like, I love to put googly eyes. Like if you're ever going into one of the stores near where I live, I will put googly eyes on like cereal boxes, just little things like that. That's nothing harmful, but playful and fun. And I think that a lot of that is missing from our lives too, where adults are supposed to be so serious. I work with a lot of really super professional CEO women and you can go ahead and cross this out. But when I tell them, hey, go commando one day, they are just like, I could never do that. But some of them need that. Like no one's going to know unless you tell them. So being playful and fun and questioning, like, what was behind that motive? What's going on? And yeah, I guess I don't, this is another thing I tell my clients. You're never starting all like from the beginning. You didn't throw your money away in that program. You're just restarting from that point where you had the donut and the Diet Coke. And also, did you enjoy it? Was it really that good? Or did you notice that maybe it didn't taste that good, especially together?
It didn't taste good.
So we have fun and we laugh and we take the judgment away and replace it with curiosity.
I love that. So everybody who's listening in the city, we won't say what city you're in. If they see googly eyes and cereal boxes, we'll know who did that.
Me?
I love that you said that. I love that you said like create something fun out of it. I think that's so true. Even with my kids, I remember we were taking Matthew up to college and we did a road trip to go to North Carolina to go visit some friends before he went to Kentucky. And we went to North Carolina and Virginia. And so I remember we were in a grocery store and there was a song that played on. I'm like, oh, I like this song. And he's like, you do? And I'm like, yeah, come on, dance. He's like, Mom, we're in the middle of the grocery store. I'm like, who cares? We don't know these people. They're never going to see us again. Who cares? And if they do, oh, well, we had fun, right? I mean, I do that with my mom. My mom, when she would come here, she's like, oh, I haven't colored my hair in a while. Because every time she'd come visit me, I take her to my hairdresser. I'm like, Mom, those people on the airplane aren't going to see you. And trust me, they're not looking at your hair.
And there's always somebody out there that's like, wow, I wish I had her hair. She looks awesome. She looks great. And it's the same thing with our bodies. There's always somebody out there that would die to have your body, die to have your sense of style. So stop being so harsh on yourself. It's really not necessary.
I love that. I love that. Don't be so harsh on yourself. I love that. It's so cool. So, okay, tell everybody, Courtney, where they can find you. And I know you have a freebie, so share the freebie. We're going to put everything in the show notes, so don't feel like you got to rush to write it down. But if you do have a pen and paper, this is when you want to get it out because Courtney's going to share how you can reach out to her, how you can go have some fun with her, and also she's going to share her freebie with you. So go for it, Courtney.
Okay, so go to my website. I'm actually updating my website. So I'll give you an alternative of what you can do, but you can reach me at www.bespoke, that's BESPOKE, nutrition and health coaching. It's very long, bespoke nutrition and health coaching.com. Just go ahead and reach out for either there's a consultation button or reach me. And I will send you that free video. And if you are having a problem with my website and it's not up in the next few days, it should be by the time this airs, please reach out to me at Courtney, COURTNEY, at bespoke nutrition and health coaching.com. And I will just send it to you. There are no strings attached, really. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to sell your information. That's just not like me. I just don't do that.
I love it. And we'll make sure everything's in the show notes as well. And I'm sure everything will be running and everything when we get this launched and all. So we have a few minutes left. So I do want to ask you kind of a fun question. I don't do this every time, but I would love one of the things that when I work with my clients, they come in, they're like, I just don't know what I like to do. I have no time for myself. So we always talk about, let's start with where you're at. Like, tell me today what brings you joy. Like, give me, their homework is usually 10 things. They have to go home and do this for a week, spend some time, have the notebook with them, and we go, oh, that brought me joy today. Right. So, would you share with the listeners today, what are 3 things that bring you joy? But what I want you to share is like, why does it bring you joy?
Okay, so you probably heard in the background, I have a new puppy that we've had for, oh, I don't know, a couple of months, and he's kind of the bane of my existence. He's a good boy. He's a good boy, but he's a puppy. He's naughty. Today I had to give him a bath, and he doesn't like it, but he puts up with it. And there was a connection with him and caring for an animal and knowing he doesn't like it, but he's doing it for me. It was really beautiful. So caring for another animal, another living being, especially my daughter's 16, she doesn't need me as much anymore. Anyway, that brought me joy today. It is cloudy out and is kind of like sad, but I'm from Oregon. This kind of reminds me of home. And so knowing that the sun is going to come out another day and it's just overcast and icky and it's winter, it's not going to be like this forever. Just reminding myself that it's okay to, like, I don't know, just have a warm cup of tea. And also being invited to this show, Pearl, is so nice to reconnect with you and have your listeners know that there is love and support. And I'm getting the word out that you're not alone. Um, there's so much hope out there. No matter what you're going through, you've got this. You're doing fantastic. Everyone does the best that they can. And I just want to remind you and remind your listeners that everything gets better. I think you're a great example, Pearl, of how nothing lasts forever, but there's a beauty, there's a silver lining. And so I guess I'm enjoying that today.
Those are beautiful things. And thank you so much. That's one of my passions, is to show everybody that, we can go through some of the worst things in our lives. I mean, I not only, if I start back with, having to release my dad from being a racist to my son, Matthew, and then losing Matthew. And then just recently having to, put a secure lock around my mom because trying to love her and help her come here with us created an uncle who was just not pleasant and doing some terrible things. So, always going back to those boundaries that we have to create for ourselves, for our self-care. That's the number one priority. We're with ourselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if I can, empower somebody to understand that through the most difficult time in our lives, we can still step forward. And having a community is so important. I mean, not only my Shiro community, but even I met you through Manisha and, the whole Diwali and International Women's Day events that she puts on, having that support. I mean, going up there, like I said, in September, we went up September, it was just a few months after Matt passed, and had this event. And I remember the bonfire night. And I remember that we had this bonfire, for those that are listening, and we were able to release things. And that was so powerful for me to release a lot of what I was feeling from the loss of Matthew. And it's so powerful, like you said, to have a community. And I appreciate those words, because that's exactly what I want everybody to see. And to know too, that it's okay. I still have waves of, I could be out somewhere. I mean, Thanksgiving, we were on a cruise for Thanksgiving. We're all trying to have breakfast together. And it just hit me, oh my gosh, it's Thanksgiving Day. And it's our first holiday that we're all together as a family, and Matt wasn't there, right? So allowing that wave to come through and having my family give me grace to be like, I'm going to go sit at this table and I'm just going to let the cry come out, is so, so important for our self-care. I just love that you recognize that, and thank you. So now my next question to you is, we as women and a lot of individuals, we create these to-do list, right? We have this, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to go pick up my kids here. I got to bathe the dog, all those things. We create these lists. What we forget to do is create the not to-do list, the list of things we have to stop doing that's not allowing us to find the joy, to enjoy the things that bring us joy, right? So what are some of the things, if you had to create a list of 3 things today that you had to put on your not to-do list, what do you think those things might be for you, Courtney?
Compare myself to anybody, anything, what I was like when I was 20 or 30 or 40. Not to do, not listen to my intuition. And when I'm hungry or when I'm needing something, I need to listen. So don't suppress any feelings that are coming up for me. Those are on my not to do list.
I love that. Don't suppress the feelings. Yeah, that's really powerful. Like to recognize, and whether you might do journaling, if you're listening to us, like journaling or brain dumping, when those things come, it's so important. I have a client just recently had something really traumatic happen in their family, and they're going to be okay, but it was coming. It just came out of nowhere, and I was like, the first thing you do. And she's like, I know, I already did it. I opened up my journal and I brain dumped. I'm like, yes, just get it out of your head. Sometimes it's the most helpful thing in the world. So I'm glad you reminded us of that too. All right. So we have a few minutes left. And everybody, I did forewarn Courtney before we came on that we have our Better Questions, Better Life cards. Now, I did not create these cards. My friend Carol Gill and Diane Allen did. You can go on betterquestionsbetterlife.com and grab these cards. I get no kickback. These are powerful cards. I give these to my kids. I give these to people all the time. They're great. Over 70 cards that ask you powerful questions that you can either meditate on, think about your day, take a picture and carry it with you. So I've already shuffled them. Courtney's going to tell me when to stop, and we're going to ask her to answer the question that's on the card. So here we go. Let me know when to stop, Courtney.
And stop.
All right, let's see what she's got. How am I expanding my influence? How are you expanding your influence?
That's a great question. Oh, I feel put on the spot. Putting yourself out there. I'm updating my website. I've joined a couple of groups, like a women's entrepreneur group, and also for the state that I live in. Also opening my heart. I think one of the biggest things is I purposefully open my heart, and I believe like there's also a vibration that we attract, either what we fear or we can just bring in. And so trying to expand my influence is sending out more love.
That's a great reminder how to send out more love. That's, we were talking earlier about the community and creating that space that I did during COVID, and which was the Shiro League. For me, that's how I expand my influence. Like, how can I empower more women to know they're not alone, right? So our Shiro League is a great community that every Sunday evening from 8 to 9 p.m., we hop on Zoom. It's not recorded. So if something happens, like this past Sunday, the client I was talking about, something had happened in the family. So I go in there with agenda and what we're going to teach on. But guess what? That Sunday, I put it aside because we had somebody that needed to be poured in and loved on and allowed to release things that maybe didn't feel comfortable releasing to everybody else, and knew she could come into that space and have that place to just be like, okay, I'm challenged with this today. Who can help me, right? And so having that space, it's so important. And so if you're listening and you're like, I would love a community like that. I would love to like meet some women that are in an area where they want to work on their self-care, or I just want to be supported by other women in the community. All you have to do is go to shiroleague.com. That's shiroleague.com. And you can follow the prompts there and learn more about how to join us on a Sunday evening. You can come in for a month for free and check us out and be poured in and loved on as well. But I want to thank you, Courtney, for coming in today. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you so much for enlightening us on it's okay to have a little slip up sometimes. It's okay to be like, you know what? I'm going to go draw some googly eyes on the cereal box because I'm not feeling it today. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I want to remind everybody that's listening today, if you're following us, like us on YouTube, subscribe and all that fun stuff, make sure you check out our wslivingretreats.com as well, because our 8th annual pajama retreat is coming up in September. But I want to leave you and remind you that you do come into this world. You're a little rough on the outside as an oyster, but as you open up and you work on some of the things that we talked about today, you become this amazing pearl that you find within that oyster. And I hope today you were inspired to go out and find your inner pearl of greatness.